where MAGA comes to talk. I want to talk to anyone who's watching this that doesn't support Donald Trump. Ask yourself why. Why? I'd love to know why you don't support Donald Trump, and explain it to me. Now again, I'm asking Americans. If you're in another country, I'm really not interested in what you think about our president, because we're in this election season right now. We're in the midterm election season. It's just starting. The Democrats are trying to shut the government down because they want to defund ICE, which is insane. There's so many things going on, and I really don't think an American, not a Latin American, not a South American, not a North American, a United States of American. I don't think a true American could articulate a legitimate reason to not support President Trump. I really mean that. Obviously I've been a Trump supporter. I wanted Trump to run. The first time he started talking about running for president was in 2011, and I was on the air talking about him running then. But you look at everything President Trump is doing. What is one thing that President Trump is doing that an American citizen could be opposed to? Unless they're a criminal. Right? That's it. The deportations, even if it's not people that are murderers and rapists, they're going after those, but anyone that's in this country illegally should be deported. What country, think about it, what country in the world could I go to today without any documentation, right? Get set up in their country and start doing my business, my radio show, podcast, and YouTube channel. I can do remotely from anywhere. So what country could I move to without any documents, without any permission, and move to illegally and set up my business and start working? What other country could I do that in? And they would tolerate it. Now, they maybe they wouldn't know I was there, and maybe they'd have to track me down and find me. But when they found out about me and who I was and where I was, they'd come and get me. What country, other than the United States, can people go to illegally and set up shop? There isn't one. There isn't one. No other country in the world allows this. Many countries, in Latin America in particular, when we're talking about illegal immigration, we talk a lot about Latin America. A lot of Americans make the stupid decision to retire to Mexico or some other Latin American country because the cost of living is so much lower. Those countries the expats, they call them, whatever they call themselves, those seniors, they have to prove that they have a certain amount of net worth, that they have a certain amount of guaranteed income coming in every month, because they don't want Americans to come to Mexico, and other countries in Latin America do this as well, and then be a burden and live off the system. And if every country in the world allowed people to come into their countries illegally and set up shop and start working, and by the way, on top of that, set them up with housing and food supplements and rent subsidies and all that, let me know which one it is, because I don't know of a single country that does that. So why would anyone expect that that's the way it should be in this country? If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. My name is Brian, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. And yeah, think about that. It's nothing short of insanity, right? Complete and utter insanity. Nothing about it makes sense. And, so what the United States is doing is what all the other countries of the world do. Now, what's happened, a lot of people say, well, what about the UK? The UK, with the EU, you could move between countries without documents in the EU. Like we can go from state to state in the United States. So that's what did them in. But no, you can't go to England and just set up shop. If I if I went to England, like say I loaded up a suitcase with all my stuff, including all my YouTube gear and my podcasting gear and all my radio gear, and I had all my stuff, customs in the UK would stop me. Customs in Canada would stop me. Customs in Mexico would stop me, and they'd send me back to the United States. It's only here. And there is no logical excuse for allowing people from other countries to illegally come here. There's never been a period in American history where we had total uncontrolled immigration. There just hasn't. There's always been regulation on immigration. As soon as the country was organized and in place, you just couldn't come here and set up. And even back in those olden days, there was no social welfare system. So you had to support yourself and feed yourself and house yourself. It's just stupid. It's stupid. And you see these jackasses that are fighting ICE. What the hell are they doing? What are they thinking? Yeah, crazy. A lot of them are paid protesters. Some of them are nuts. I saw a video, it's on my X, with that guy with the beard from the church that got arrested. He seems really terrified about this. He said he's scared about these charges he's facing. And I was very surprised. He did a video screaming at the camera, and he said his wife, I was surprised he was married. Oh boy, his wife's got a lot to deal with. I wonder what she's like. Oh my gosh. If she lives with that guy that screams all the time, could you imagine? But make a case for me, if one of you anti-Trump, never-Trumper liberals, make a case for me, I'm serious, that illegals should be allowed to stay here. Why? Why should they be allowed to stay here? The president said yesterday that the crime rate in this country is at its lowest point since 1900. 1900, that's 126 years ago. Think about that. Why is the crime rate so low? You know why? It's because of the deportations, and a lot of illegals aren't leaving their house in some places. They're holed up, or they're not out doing crime because they're afraid they'll get busted. Think about that. The president said this in the Oval Office yesterday. The crime rate is at its lowest level since 1900, 126 years ago. What else would you attribute it to? Of course, that's what it is. The other thing is, while there have been no border crossings for the last 8 or 9 months, some people still come to the border to attempt to cross in very small numbers. The number of people that have come to the border and confronted, Border Patrol down there is at its lowest level since Nixon was president. So that's over 50 years ago. So contact with people who want to cross the border at the southern border is at a 50-year low. Crime is at its lowest rate in 126 years. What does that tell you? It tells you that what Trump is doing is working and helping Americans, in particular in these blue areas. Here in Florida, over 40% of the illegal catches are being done by the Florida Highway Patrol. I saw on the local news here in South Florida yesterday. It's amazing. I think they said 43%. It was on the local news. Isn't that something? I mean, who's against having the lowest crime rate in 125 years? And it's not even in the news. Not even in the news. Lowest crime rate in 125 years. That blew me away when he said that yesterday. It was in the Oval Office signing yesterday. And of course the media, they don't want to cover that story. You can't find that story anywhere. I heard it live. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. The murder rate is at its lowest rate since they've been keeping murder rate statistics. Yeah. So these things that he's doing that are a direct result of the illegal immigration crackdown, how can any American be opposed to that? Well, the only people that would be opposed to that are Americans are criminals or crazy people. You'd have to be either crazy or a criminal. There's no logical reasoning other than that. None. Zero. By the way, if you're a Patreon supporter, I did a Patreon live stream this morning, a little while ago. Talked about some things. So if you're a Patreon supporter, make sure you check out that video. It's up there for Patreon supporters. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of the video. Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely amazing that the crime rate is at its lowest level since 1900. 1900. Who would have even thought that was possible to do? So what does that tell you about most of the crime in this country? Most of the crime is being committed by illegals. That's what it tells you. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. This is without question where MAGA comes to talk. On the next stream, I'll be live in the studio taking your calls. Okay, so, and the toll-free number to call in will be pinned in the live chat when I'm live streaming from the studio, so you can call me about these things. But I thought that was a big story, and when I went through the news this morning, I didn't see one story report about the lowest crime rate in 126 years. Didn't see it anywhere. And they don't want that story out there. It's too much truth. The Democrats are pro-crime. They like chaos. That's how they stay in power. Chaos, dissent, people disagreeing with one another, people hating each other. That's how Democrats roll. That's just how it is. I mean, the things, I've been talking about this the last few weeks, using this term, that the things that President Trump, that he's accomplishing, the things that he is doing, these are things that are universally good. How could you be opposed to any of these things? This car in front of me is driving 22 miles per hour. Are you freaking kidding me? At this hour of the morning, they're probably coming home from a bar. Driving that slow. They're not swerving, but they're driving pretty slow. It looks like they're driving home. Yeah, that'll fool the cops. Drive slow. That's so suspicious. Don't drink and drive, guys. Don't drink and drive. That's not my lead story today that I'm going to talk about, though, but that's going to be one of the top stories. So if you look at the video, they got the thumbnail about Caitlin Collins. I'll wait until the show to get into that, but I want to talk about that exchange with Trump and Caitlin Collins yesterday, which was very, very important. More so than people realize. So that's what I'm going to lead with today. But this crime rate being so low, that's just amazing. What a great accomplishment. The president should win the Nobel Prize just for that. Who would have thought something like that was possible? I mean, we knew that he would lower crime with the deportations, but that much? All right, guys, now listen. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, okay? This is where MAGA comes to talk. My name's Brian.